Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Redleg Roundtable. I am Seth Shaner, and I'm pleased to bring in a guest who typified what meant success for the 1999 Reds, Greg Vaughn. Greg, thanks so much for joining me.
Hey, Seth, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, as I was mentioning to you off the air there, here at the Riverfront, we'll talk sometimes about our favorite one-year-only Reds, and you and Mike Cameron certainly in 1999 were right up there. What a season that was, right?
Oh, yeah. Coming off 98, going to the World Series and, not getting a chance to run it back and,
Yeah.
Being from California and being at home in San Diego, I really didn't know what to expect. And it was, I have to say, some of the most fun I've ever had playing baseball. The group of guys that we had off a little shaky. We had to make some adjustments with the mindset of expecting to win, expecting to beat teams that no one else gave us a chance. Realizing that all that matters is if we believe in ourselves, the rest of that stuff is irrelevant. So it was just having like I said, Pete Harness, Denny Nagel, and then the young core, when you talk about Pokey, Dimitri, Booney, Case, those guys all bought in, man. Jeffrey Hammonds, Michael Tucker, everyone bought into it. You know what I mean? And then you bring in veterans like Steve Avery, Danny Graves did his thing, Scott Williamson. It was just one of those seasons that everybody in the clubhouse, really believed in what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to win a championship. Whether, people thought we were crazy or not, why play the game if that's not your goal? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've had Pokey and Eddie Taubensee and Scott Williamson and Scott Sullivan, some of these guys on the show, and they've all talked about the leadership you brought. I guess I wanted to start a little bit, though. You're from Sacramento. You're born July 3rd, 1965. What was growing up there like, and kind of how did it form you as a baseball player?
Well, I don't know if you know the history on, Sacramento, 916. It's a special place. You got Dusty Baker, you got Steve Sachs, you have the Force brothers, Leon Lee. At one time in the big leagues, in my high school conference, we had 25 players and 5 managers. My cousin Jerry Royster, Jerry Manuel, Chris Bosio, Lavelle Freeman. There was just so many players there that it was crazy. At one time, we had Dusty, Buck Martinez, Jerry Manuel. At the time was Jerry Royster, my cousin. He was managing the Brewers. There was five guys that from Sacramento that were managing in the big leagues, and then we had 25 players out of the same league, from Ricky Jordan, Fernando Vina. The list goes on and on. It was just. It was a special place. It was a special place to play, to grow up, and sports continues to be a big part of the Sacramento region.
Absolutely, and I know you grew up there. You went to John F. Kennedy High School, and then I was reading about you. You went to Sacramento City College. So you stayed at home initially. Is that right?
Yeah, I stayed at home because I was a football player. So where I wanted to go. They all said I could play football. And then when you get there, it's like, well, we need you for baseball. We need you for football. You can't. Baseball is not even here yet. So, but that being said, they wouldn't let me out. I had to come home and do a year at City College, and then went to University of Miami.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You played with Barry Larkin later. He had a similar deal with Michigan where Bo Schembechler tried to stop him from playing baseball. So interesting thing. So the draft was way different back then, but in the course of your time, I think you were drafted 5 different times. Like, how did you decide not to take the offer, or not that? Like, how did you decide to wait every time until you finally did coming out of Miami?
Yeah, and I think I was drafted in the first round 2 or 3 times. It was funny because I wasn't ready. I knew I wasn't ready, and I wasn't going to sign just to sign. Like I said, football was my love. That was my passion. I think I was far more advanced in football at that. at that age, and I just wasn't ready to go, and it's so different now because both my boys, they wanted to sign on that important for these kids now. And I told them I wasn't signing until I knew it was the right place to go. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I went 3,000 miles away from home to play at the University of Miami, and then so being away from home wasn't tough. You miss your family, but I had bigger dreams and aspirations, of what I wanted to do. So uh, that wasn't tough for me, so to speak. And I was in Cape Cod, my freshman and sophomore year.
Hmm.
So it was, so I was used to being gone. And like I said, I wasn't going to sign just to sign. My goal when I signed was get to the big leagues. And I talked to a lot of kids, and you could tell by their work ethic or what happens after they sign, if they're signing to get to the big leagues or their goal was just to sign, to
Yeah.
say they're playing baseball. But that was never my goal. My goal was not to stay in the minor leagues. My goal was to get out there as fast as I can and get to the big leagues. And that's what I tried to accomplish.
What position did you play in football?
Running back and safety, but I was only 180 pounds, so a lot different now. It's I just love that if someone did something to you, you can do it back and not get in trouble. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. So, but you end up going to Milwaukee. Finally, you signed with Milwaukee, and you go into a system there that included, I guess, Gary Sheffield coming up through the ranks. You end up playing with Robin Yount and Paul Molitor, but also Dave Parker was there. I think when you around the time you came up, he's from Cincinnati. He just got elected to the Hall of Fame. What was he like to be around? Was he kind of the type of leader that you ended up wanting to be later? What was that experience like?
Well, see, I was there before Parkway. Me and Shep, we same draft, 2 picks apart.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first round, so we lived together. We did everything together, and then Chef and the Brewers were having a tough time, working their marriage out, and so they brought Parkway in because 88, 89, I came up, and Parkway came over like 93, 94. But I've been to Middletown. I go to his golf tournament. Me and
Yeah.
Shep, on my podcast, Life After Sports 23, we've been pushing for Parkway to be there. You know what I mean? To get in the hall. Robin's still a big factor. I just seen Robin last week in Arizona. Robin Yount.
Yeah.
But Parkway, I mean, the icon that he was, growing up and his stature and being the baddest man on the planet for about 10 years, at one point being the first $1 million player and be able to not only do it on the field, but talk about it and tell you he was going to do it. You know what I mean? And he taught us how to be professionals too, but not taking anything away from Robin, Paulie, Jim Gantner, Glenn Braggs, another guy that went on to play for the Reds, Mike Felder. My village was huge, but Parkway was an important part of it. And we stayed in contact, and Kelly, and my big push was give him his flowers while he's still alive. They waited way too long,
Mm-hmm.
but give him his flowers and his just due. And who's to say why? How come? That's just the world we live in nowadays. And I'm so happy for him. I've been to the Reds youth center down there in Middletown, watching them play. Like I said, Parkway. I mean, we call him pops. I know Willie Stargell was his pops, but
Yeah.
he was me and Shep's pops. You know what I mean? So he played a big, huge role in my career and in my life because we're still great friends. Like I said, I come back and go to the Cobra Classic and do all the things. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, Barry Larkin and Eric Davis came up 3 or 4 to 5 years before you did. Parker's with the Reds. It's you hear the same stories, right? The way they leaned on him, and he basically showed them how to be big leaguers. And it sounds like he was that kind of influence on a lot of people.
Oh, he was. You know what? I think I didn't mean to cut you off, Seth, but
No, you're
I
good.
think from the people outside of Cincinnati, or if you didn't play with them, sort of like Shep, and sometimes they would say Ricky Henderson, rest in peace. It's another guy that played important part of my life. I think they were misconceived. They were not quite. People put a bad rap on them or tried to make them be something that they were totally not. And anybody that's ever played with Parkway knows what type of person he is. I mean, to me, he was one of the greatest players ever, but he was even a better person. You know what I mean? And people don't understand that. And it's just a misconception, unfortunately, that he's had to carry that burden, for a long time. That probably kept him out of the Hall of Fame for all these years. But you know what? He finally got it. He's still here. Maybe he's not in the capacity that we wish he was in, so he can really embrace it and celebrate and walk up those stairs into that podium. It's gonna. But yeah, me and Shep will be there. We won't miss it for anything.
That'll be great. And you never know why, and necessarily when it's happening, somebody's put in your life. And I think you were kind of that for guys like, I know Pokey Reese talked to me about it, like the influence you had on him, and even Scott Williamson, who was a pitcher. Some of the things you said to Scott, he said, I was scared. But we'll get to that momentarily. Hey, you made 2 All-Star teams while you're with Milwaukee. You were there until '96 when you're traded to San Diego. What was your time in Milwaukee like as you're kind of learning the ropes a little bit, and how much do you look back? I know you were at Fantasy Camp a couple weeks ago. What do you think of your time in Milwaukee?
Oh, I mean, that's where it all started. You know what I mean? The Brewers, took a chance, and with the 4th pick, and like I said, I have a special place and a special bond for the people. I played 8 years in Milwaukee, so it's a place that will always be important and special to me. Me, I have great ties. Like I'm going back to Make-A-Wish in April. I go back for, I just have tremendous relationships with the city of Milwaukee. So, and Midwest people, man, growing up in California, you really don't understand them, and understand what it's like to grow up in the Midwest, and the values and the family, family that matters, and they're passionate. They're passionate about their teams. It's like going down south and SEC, ACC.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, growing up out west, your dad could go to, your mom and dad can go to UCLA. Next thing, I'm going to USC. That doesn't happen back there.
Yeah,
If they
that's
went
right.
to the University of Wisconsin, they're going to the University of Wisconsin.
That's
If
true.
they, so it's it will always be special, man. Like I said, it was a place that the people are humble. You know what I mean, and that was important for me. It was good. It's not for everybody, but it was for me
Mm-hmm.
at that period of my life, and
Sure.
something I will never forget it.
That's awesome. Well, so partway through '96, you're traded to San Diego. I was actually interested to see that was actually, like, you see the expiring contracts get traded nowadays, and usually it's like, well, that's a rent a player, but your contract, I think, ended after '96, and you re-signed with San Diego. What was the decision there? And obviously you're back home in California.
Well, that was easy. 40-minute flight from home.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be in San Diego? You know what I mean? And you get to play with Tony, Cammy, Wally. Chris Gomez. Carlos Hernandez. Mark Sweeney's my guy. Who came with me to the Reds in the trade. And then we go together to, San Diego. It was just, Trevor Hoffman. Like I said, from top to bottom, that roster was unbelievable. The guys, like I said, speaking about Parkway, everybody on that San Diego roster, as good as players as they were better human beings, and that was important. And we were very, very close. So it was easy to sign there. What was
Sure.
not easy, and I'm sure you'll get to it, I don't want to jump ahead, was the phone call from my
I hear you.
that phone call after going to the World Series, and basically having the best offensive year anyone's ever had as far as number wise, except for average in San Diego, and you get traded. So
Yeah.
just as sweet as it was to be there, and I think it even hurt more because we didn't get a chance to run it back with that group of guys. From Kevin Brown, Cammy, rest in peace. And Boach was a tremendous leader. It's just, Merv Redmond, rest in peace. I know he was there. Merv was a huge part of my village too. So, and still to this day being told, pretty close to the Gwen family. My oldest son Corey played for Tony, so I got to be around Tony. His Hall of Fame induction. The kids' marriage. So it's, the lineage is long. Like I said, man, my village looks like a lot of people. That's why I look at the world today. It has people that look like you and everyone else in it. And you know where we're at in the state of the world today. It's sad for me. You know what I mean? It's the division, the divide. It's crazy. I wasn't raised that way. Coming from
Yeah.
the West Coast, man, we weren't raised that way.
Yeah, I spoke to a woman today for an article I'm writing about Black History Month, and she's a school counselor. And she talked about the breakdown of just the idea of your village. Like you don't really have that as much anymore. You mentioned the numbers. 1998, not a hitter's ballpark necessarily for power out there at the Murph, but you hit 50 home runs. You're fourth in the MVP voting. You make the All-Star team. You win the Silver Slugger. You mentioned the World Series appearance. You ran into a buzzsaw of a 1998 Yankees team that was just really good. But I guess talk about that run, because a longer run through a playoffs is just extra special.
Yeah, for us. Yeah, I mean, I had going back to during the season. I think we clinched like a month before. I mean, we were playing that good. I think we almost won 100. I mean, it was just crazy how good we were. That team was. And I had a month and you know what? I had a month and a half to hit 50. I was stuck on 49 for a month and a half. And I remember, we were in Arizona, and it's the last game of the year. And Boach comes up to me, and he says, "You're good. You want to rest." And I said, "No. We haven't really celebrated yet. I want to run off the field with my teammates." Not being selfish by not letting someone else play, but I wanted to run off the field with my teammates. Me, Tony, and Finn, we all said the same thing. We're running off this field together in the outfield, and then we came together. But before that, I think we were down by one, 2 men on, or 1 man on. It's the top of the ninth, and we're down by one, and I go into tunnel right before that bat. I say, if you don't want to bleep it out, but this is what I said to myself. I said, "Dumb, you know what? 49 is not a bad year. That's a good year. So whatever's, from the guy up top, whatever's meant to be is meant to be. Just embrace it. You're going to the playoffs, this and that." And last bat of the season, I was 0-2. And he hung me a slider. Aaron Small hung me a slider. And I hit it in the left field bullpen. So I got the ball back too. But then how special that team was in San Diego. The Little League World Series, when a guy hits a home run, everybody runs to home plate, this and that.
Right.
I almost killed Davey Lopes at first base with the hand. Then I get to third base, and Flannery, so happy for Tim Flannery. Like I said, man, our coaching staff was unbelievable with Dave Stewart, Flannery. I turned after I hit Flannery at third base, and my whole team is waiting for me, right outside. They wanted me to hit 50 more, probably just as much as I did. I wouldn't say more than I did, just as much as I did, because that's a special group, right? So
yeah.
So then it sort of was like a breath of fresh air for us. I mean, we just rolled through the playoffs. Beat Randy Johnson and Greg Maddox twice. You know what I mean? And in those short series, not taking anything away from the Yankees, but we had game one. Mark Langston struck out Tino. Tino's walking back. Well, Richie Garcia did his thing again, man. And I love Rick. He's a good dude, but god dang. Strike three, we're all running off the field. Up by, because now Trevor's getting the ball. You know what I mean? So Richie says ball. And I'm cussing, screaming, yelling in left field. The outfield umpire and the base umpires are telling me to calm down. Finley, Cammy, the whole team's going crazy. Boach, Stu. Next pitch, curveball. Tino hits a grand slam. And we lose. So it was. Yeah, we did. It was just something about them. They just won. It's just like playing against the Bulls.
Sure.
Or the teams. Playing against Brady, or coming up this week against Junior, Mahomes, and those guys. Sometimes, man, you run against those special teams and special players where all they do is win. And the part that hurt, like I said, man, for the city of San Diego, we didn't get a chance to run it back.
Yeah.
With that group of guys, we did not get a chance to run it back. And that's the part that kills you. I think sometimes people take for granted that you don't get there. Everyone's not a Derek Jeter where you get there, every single year,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was my one and only shot. When someone says, "Do you have any regrets?" No, I don't have any regrets. I just, if there's one thing missing, it was a chance to get a World Series ring.
Yeah, I see that. Now, you already mentioned the trade and how it was upsetting a little bit there. Take me through who calls you, because we just sat through this weekend one of the most amazing, surprising trades in American sports history. Luka Doncic gets sent to the Lakers. Everybody, I'm not even that big an NBA fan anymore, but I opened Twitter that morning, Sunday morning or whenever it was, and I'm like, that can't be true, So, but so you get the call, and you probably knew. I mean, I know Kevin Brown was, a free agent and all that, and those sorts of things. But what is it like? Who calls you? What's your reaction? How long does it take you to kind of be okay with it at all?
Well, you got to admit, all you heard was horror stories about, and me and Lark and ED, we all had the same agent. You know what I mean? Aaron Goldsmith, little E.
Yeah.
So Kevin Towers, the general manager, about 2 weeks before these rumors have been going on all offseason. So 2 weeks before spring training, me and Tony are still talking. And Tony, usually Tony didn't say too much. He said, but Vonnie's under contract. Why would you get rid of him? So I had the city of San Diego behind me. I had, Tony and, guys like that behind me. And KT said, hey, man, you're not moving. You're not going anywhere. Okay. So we got like 10 days left. Also, my phone rings like at 5:30 in the morning. And I hear this voice. I mean, at that time, you think something happened to someone in your family or something, it's emergency. So I answer the phone, not totally coherent. I'm like, hello, Greg, this is Marshawn, honey. I just want to say,
no.
You got traded to the Cincinnati Reds. I was like, I'm having a freaking nightmare right now.
Yep.
So this can't be true. This is not happening right now. Lark didn't call me. My agent didn't call. Eric didn't tell me. I find out at like 5:30. So now I'm just sitting there. I don't even think I said anything. She said, congratulations, you've been traded to the Cincinnati Reds. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
With all the players, the great players that the Reds organization has had, still outside of that organization, it was horror stories. You know what I mean? It was commercial flights, brown bags. I mean,
Shotzi.
Yeah, I was not picking up dog shit. Sorry. You know what I mean? But it was fun. Yeah. Like I said, and I don't even know how I responded. I was, like I said, I'm playing all this out in my head. Nightmare, really, Reds. I hit 50 and I'm the only guy ever to get traded up to hit 50 home runs. What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I able to stay at a place I probably would have took less for it to stay?
Yeah.
And so I was angry also. I was angry at the Padres. I was real angry at the Padres because I did everything I thought to be able to stay there. And then she dropped on me, we have one problem. So now it's probably like 5:47. You know what I mean? And I'm like, we do? She goes, yeah. And she goes, we have a no facial hair policy. So now I'm already mad.
Yep.
And then she woke me up at 5:30 to tell me this. And I'm like, I don't have a problem. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, I don't have a problem. I said, it's 1999. What does my, goatee have to do with playing baseball? My kids have never seen me without a goatee. And you just woke me up. I'm pissed off at the Padres. I'm pissed off at baseball but I knew it was a business. I wasn't surprised because growing up, a person of color, I hate to say it, you expect these type of things and you have to deal with adversity and certain things to persevere through. But at 5:30, it's even harder to deal with it, at AM. And so I said, get your players back. She says, oh, no, well, calm down. We're going to, we'll see what's going on. And, just take a few days, big red machine and all that. I said, I get that. That was in the 70s.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm out from out west. It's 1999. Why do, this is part of who I am. You know what? Now you're going to take that away from me, And she says, well, just, stew on it, and I'm sure we can get this worked out. And I said, I'm not coming. And she says, just take your time, and, I'll give you a couple of days. So I don't know where she went or what she did, but she went back and talked to some people, and she calls me back. And she says, you get to keep it. And now my phone starts ringing from all the players. Thanks. We get to express ourselves. We get to, basically be a man. In hindsight, what I did, I mean, being a business owner now and I know rules are meant to be in place it was just the wrong time to tell me that. If it wasn't 30, and if I didn't hit 50 home runs and I didn't do what I thought I did to stay in San Diego, I might have had a different reaction, but out of respect to all the guys that I came across after that for the Big Red Machine, I apologize. I said, this was no disrespect to you guys. This was just me expressing who I was at a time. And if it happened today, I probably wouldn't do it out of respect to those guys. But 5:30, mad, did everything I, thought, to have one of the best seasons ever for myself and, the San Diego organization. And to get that, I felt like it was a slap in the face to me. So long story short, like I said, after the phone rings, and like I said, it was only like 10 days in between, I think. Mm-hmm. Spring training, 12. Now I got to fast forward. Okay, now I'm going to Sarasota, Florida over Arizona. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
So now I'm not going to see my kids and stuff for the duration of spring training. So, because, that's a whole day of your life there and a whole day left back. So I get there, see all the guys. From day one, it was like a match made in heaven. Lark, we had the same agent, knowing Lark, then getting around Booney, and I didn't know Aaron. I know Brett. You know what I mean, because he was older,
mm-hmm.
and just getting there. It was good until we got to the clubhouse, and we had to change the food a little bit. Then I'm not trying to be a diva, but I'm just like, man, we still have to eat soup and crackers and stuff for lunch and not take anything from the stove family. It wasn't their fault. It was what they had to work with, right? Because I love those guys. It wasn't. And then all of a sudden, we changed that. And after we got our heads kicked in, I think the first weekend, and then we go to Atlanta, we shut the door, told all the coaches to get out. But senior, no, we told everybody to get out. But senior knew where we were going with it.
Yeah.
And red ass Ronnie, he knew where we were going with it too. You know what I mean? We had to change the culture and the mindset after. I think first weekend we got beat. Second, we get to Atlanta, 13-1 or 2. Yep. Second day, something. Everybody get out. And we just had to say this is not okay. This is not how we want to spend our time. And Trader Jack and his staff, like I said, Ronnie the doctor, it was just Collins, Davey. We had great guys, but their hands were tied. You know what I mean? As far as like early work in the cage, and we were going through the season. This first couple of games, no BP. I'm like, no BP. So this is starting off the season. We don't have no BP.
Yeah,
because they're just smoking cigars, and him and those guys just smoking cigars on the bench, and the other team's hitting and taking fly balls, and we're flipping to ourselves in the cage. Me and Sweeney were looking around like, holy shit.
Yeah, if you go backwards a little bit, that's what sports is a crazy thing. Us Reds fans, we can't, like, even I was only in college at the time when you got traded, but at the same time we understood, like, oh, Marge shot, and this and that and the other, and yet certainly we love our team and we root for our team and all that. So you come, and I've never had a goatee, but even this morning when I was shaving, I came down from the side and I looked in the mirror and I was like, man, I'm going to talk to Greg Vaughn today. and you made me think of, and Sean Casey, I know that first year, I don't think he grew one, but after that, he wore one proudly with the Reds. There's a moment in time, and you're talking about, the players only meeting a little later into April. It's the last night before you head north. And somehow, and I don't know if you went to Orlando, maybe you'll remember this. I'm a college kid. I don't know if I was on spring break or what, but I've got Baseball Tonight on, and Baseball Tonight had a set, whether it was up in Orlando or where it was, but you and Mike Cameron, and listen, you were traded for Reggie Sanders. We loved Reggie Sanders, but we knew you just hit 50 home runs. So it's like, wow, this is great.
Once again, me and Reggie have the same agent too.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're excited that you're going to be there, but we didn't know much about you. I knew, you filled Hal McCoy's notebook with the goatee thing and the soup and all that. I still remember reading his stories about it, but I see you and Mike Cameron, and we still, you never know how good your team going to be going into the opening day and all that. But I still remember, and this is years and years ago, 26 years ago, the impression you made in that interview. And do you remember going to that interview at all?
I remember going down to Orlando, and I think Lark was with us too. You know what I mean? But me, Mike, and Lark, because I think we went to a basketball game too. The Magic game, yeah. So yeah. We went to a game, and it was towards the end. Spring training was breaking up. I think we played down there. We stayed down there, and we just came back the next day. Lark lives there, so I don't quite remember what the interview was about, but I do remember being there, and I do remember having Cam and Lark with me, because like Cam is that's my little brother. You know what I mean? Still to this day, like I said, man, the relationships and the bond. But I don't know what impression I made during the interview, because I can't remember the questions.
I don't even remember the questions either. I just remember thinking, wow, even I can tell from all these miles away, just being a fan, this is different. And Barry Larkin was a captain, and he was a great player. And but everybody I've heard, even Eddie Taubensee had been there for several years before then. He talks about Larkin, very respectfully, and still maintains his leadership was very important. But aside from the things like the rule change and things like that with the facial hair and all the things, what did you have to do you think, to establish more of a vocal leadership?
Well, I mean, I think I came over with some animosity already.
Mm-hmm.
We just win, we go to the World Series, and then, like I said, the opening weekend, and I have to say this: I've never experienced opening day like that. I had to go out and see this, because I just knew I had to get up there even extra early because of all the stuff that was going on. So, and it was cold, and I think rain. It was so opening day. All the stuff. It was amazing, because back then we played the first game because of the oldest team in baseball. The history of the Reds is amazing. You know what I mean? And I think people don't realize it until I didn't realize it until I played for them. You know what I mean? Because it's not a big market. It's not all these things that all these other cities are that are on every single day. But it was a testament to everyone else on that roster. It wasn't me just being vocal. It was just them. I had Peter Harnish, Denny Nagel, Steve Avery, and those guys on the pitching side. Lark, like I said, the man doesn't miss BP. He fields every ground ball. He stays out there. He runs every ball out. He plays the game the right way. He leads by example. I tried to lead by example, but also I wasn't afraid to voice my opinion. It was never about a bad performance or anything like that. It was about the only thing we can control is our effort. You know what I mean? And there's a difference between competing and trying. It doesn't take anything to try, but competing, we had to do a better job at competing. And if you didn't want to compete by the end of the first month of the season, you found a way to compete, or it was going to be a long year for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, so I don't have much connection with you before today, except for one thing. On May 5th, 1999, you played against the Diamondbacks and Randy Johnson. The Reds lose the game 5-1. I sit down the third base line. You catch the third out in an inning, and you toss me this.
Nice.
It's the first ball I ever got at a game. I brought my glove down. I was a student at Ohio State at the time. So
Okay.
I still have it labeled underneath Greg Vaughn. So I wanted to show that to you. So yeah, that was pretty special to me. There's a funny story there too. There was a girl in the row behind us or right around us, and a friend of mine was trying to like set me up with her or something. And toward the end of the game, he goes, "Are you gonna give my buddy your phone number?" And the girl looked at me and looked down at my ball, the glove and ball, and she says, "If you give me that ball, I'll give you my number." I said, "No, this is the first ball I've ever gotten. Greg Vaughn threw it to me. I'm not giving you this ball."
So I take it it's not your wife then.
I don't know her. No, I don't know her at all. So no, I am married happily. So,
Yeah, I was gonna
but
say,
no,
I was gonna say, did the ball get you your wife?
that
That's
would
not.
have been an interesting story. But I think it's pretty funny, and I guess it shows how either deranged I am or how devoted of a fan I am that I would rather have a baseball than a really pretty girl's number. So
But you know what? Once again, that's a testament to, like I said, the fans in Cincinnati. I mean,
yeah,
the loyalty, the passion, and even to this day, coming back a few times and seeing how the city has transformed and
hmm,
turned into this amazing city. It's if they just put a product out there, man, the people will come. You know what I mean? They got if they can, and you guys have a lot to be excited about. You guys have a lot of young
yeah.
players, key pieces. It's they just have to continue to add to it.
Yeah, new ownership since 2006, and the experience at the ballpark is really good. In fact, the ballpark opened in 2003, but I would say it's a better ballpark now than it was even then. They've put money into that sort of stuff. But you're right. I really, as a fan, would like to see them compete more on a different level. So you mentioned it was a slow start that season. On May 19th, you were 19-18. So you just kind of pulled ahead of 500. Do you remember playing in Colorado the day that you beat the Rockies 24-12?
There are a lot of games like that in Colorado. No,
That's what I was going to say. You played out there with the Padres, so you probably to me that was just crazy. Denny Nagel was pitching hurt. He ends up leaving that game earlier. I had him on earlier a month or two ago. We talked about this game. The game's crazy. Sean Casey goes 6 for 6. You went 3 for 6 in the game. Just like I said, a crazy game to anybody watching from home or listening to Marty and Joe. But was it just kind of run of the mill for you? All the games you'd played out there?
oh yeah, yeah. For me, it was another game in Colorado. You know what I mean? And when we, like you said, having 20 something runs, and when they come to bat, in the ninth, they're still not out of it. You know what I mean? So that's how Colorado was.
That's true.
You just got to, you just had to play hard, man. And I learned that from Robbie Yount, Paul Martin, Dave Parker,
Uh-huh.
Willie Randolph. There was only one way to play. You
Sure.
played it hard until they took the balls away. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it was, uh, yeah, we had some wild games, but you know what? We had a lot of fun. You know what I mean? And like I
Yep.
said, it wasn't just me trying to be a vocal leader. It was a testament to the guys that were on that roster, and you know, they bought in. And young players sometimes, they don't want to be told anything. They don't want to listen. I'm the man. I was 15 pick, and in the draft 3 years ago. These guys, Pokey, Dimitri, Case, uh, Cam, like I said, Dimitri, Booney,
Yeah, with
William,
Jeff Hammonds and yeah,
yeah, Jeffrey Hammonds, and Michael Tucker. Dude, everybody was on the same page, because, when you say a vocal leader, it doesn't mean you have to be an asshole. You know what I mean? You can get your message across with, you know, conveying it in a way that they take it with respect. You know what I mean? And not, you don't want to humiliate anyone. I probably have it over my life playing the game, but
yeah.
once it depends on the circumstance. Me and Tonko are good friends, but I remember a couple times. I remember when this one time in Houston, I got hit. You know what I mean? No, really good. I thought Daryl Kyle, rest in peace, hit me really. I thought it came out the other side. Swear to God, I thought it came out the other side. And I remember Carl Everett and Derek Bell and those guys on the bench. Bonnie, breathe, breathe. I get the first Bagwell's like,
Yeah.
Bonnie, you all right? Somehow, ground ball hit. I tried to kill somebody. I don't even know who it was at second base. Tried to destroy him. And I walked straight to the mound. Lark brings me my glove. And I tell Tomko, give him specific orders. and he did something totally different. Yeah, that was that. You have to ask him about that. That wasn't good in the tunnel. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I bet you. Yeah. Well, but you mentioned how exciting it was. You had so many come from behind wins, so many walk-off wins at home, but you also won like 52 games on the road. I recently pulled up a YouTube video and it had like a stream of like 8 minutes worth of highlights of just walk-offs from that year. Like it was so many things. And even if you weren't the guy hitting the ball or scoring the run, you're right there. And I know the stomp or the bounce or whatever it was called was kind of invented that year at home plate. What do you recall whose idea that was, or how it came about?
It just happened. Come across
Yeah.
some play day, we just did it, and it carried on. And I mean, I think we set the all-time record for one team hitting home runs in a game too in Philly. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It was
That was September. Yeah, you hit 9 home runs. It was crazy. A 22-3 win.
yeah. And then, like I said, to just win the one game at the end of that year, man, at the end of the season in
Yeah.
Milwaukee, one game.
Well, that whole series. So that's the awful weekend. You just can't talk about that season without talking about it. You need to win. It turns out you need to win two. You thought maybe you could win one, but boy, those Astros just never quit winning, did they? They ended up a game ahead of you, so you needed to win to get in, and you had to win it with a long delay on Sunday. You finally pull it off, but that just gets you a one-game playoff where, hey, the Mets are already in Cincinnati. That was
we didn't even start till like 10 o'clock at night. I mean, we were there. It was a day game, 10 o'clock. They're in Cincinnati. We get home like at 4:45, 4 o'clock, and we have to turn around and be at the be at the ballpark for a 1 o'clock game. Al lighter, freezing cold, rainy. But I tell you what, the fans came out to support us, and we just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, we sold that game out in about 11 minutes. I bought tickets up by Ohio State, and so they did move it tonight. It was supposed to be at 1 o'clock. That stadium was as loud as I ever heard it, and I was there for playoff games, throughout the 90s when they made it. But you're right, cold. Al Leiter just had it that night. Of course, Harnish would have been more ideal if he could have pitched that day, but he had to be used the day before. I remember that. It says, so you were supposed to play an afternoon game. I went to my mom's for dinner, and you still hadn't started yet.
We just started like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night.
So I ended up thinking, okay, I'm going to stay at my mom's and watch or listen to this game or however it was going to be. And I just remember like, man, I'm not getting home because it's about a half-hour drive from my mom's to my apartment. And I'm like, I can't leave until I see this game end. And it's kept going. It was just not right. And that was when they played outdoors, and you were cold and wet up there in Milwaukee too. So.
Oh yeah, it rained the whole weekend. I mean, we didn't play one game on time. Every game was
a
start. But I told the fellas going in too. Milwaukee's just one of those teams. Even though they weren't going to the playoffs, it's etched in stone that they're going to play hard. And bring it. And whatever reason it was, the way the stars were aligned, or it was what it was. It's not that it was lack of effort by us, or we just didn't get it done. And we were up, but Milwaukee came back, or it was just one of those things. And and that year too, that was some of the baseball. Didn't get a chance to run it back again. You know what I mean? And then they have opportunity to get Junior. So Junior, Greg Vaughn, Junior all day long, right? And
well, yeah.
And then you don't. But what I do appreciate is, moving on. To still talking to the reporters, and Cincinnati wasn't doing what they did the year before with one of the top, baseball players in the game, and they made some other additions also, and Pokey, Booney, Dimitri, and then all the time they would get back to me and say, we miss Vonnie, you know what I mean? And that's what I played for. I played for the respect of my teammates and my peers, you know what I mean? Anything else was a bonus, but I played, not to embarrass the name on the back, and for the respect of my peers, and I felt like I did that in Cincinnati.
Yeah, any fan of baseball, anybody inside baseball, even like I said, Denny Nagel and Pokey and these guys, like everybody understands Ken Griffey Jr., Cincinnati, Ohio. He was no doubt Hall of Famer, first ballot, everything. You had to make that move, but what you lost is a Mike Cameron, and you lost to Greg Vaughn, and then they trade Denny Nagel by the All-Star break that year in 2000. and probably because of contracts and how things lined up. And you're sitting there and you think, my goodness, if you could just run it back, as you've mentioned multiple times with your World Series Padres team, run it back one more time with you and Cameron in the outfield instead of Griffey and Bichette. And who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. But, like I said, that didn't bother me. I mean, like I said, if I'm a GM, I'm taking Junior over Greg
Yeah.
Vaughn. You know what I mean? And it is what it is, But like I said, it's some of the most fun I've ever had. You know what I mean? And then, some of the comments that Marty Brenneman has said about me, I mean, that's what I played for. You know what I mean? I played for the respect of my peers and my teammates. And, at the end of the day, that's why I said there's a difference between competing and trying. I can hang my hat on it. But, I have people that say, oh, man, you mad you're not in the Hall of Fame? And I say, man, that's a special place for special players. You know what? I was who I was, and I can hang my hat on it. You know what I mean? I tried to bring it every single day, whether it was good or bad. No one played harder than I did, and that's the only thing I had control over.
Yeah, well, you're right about that. Now, if you ended up in Tampa Bay, you spent your last few years there. You did make another All-Star team, so obviously a feather in your cap there. What were those final couple years like before you ended up hanging them up?
I thought when I got the call in Cincinnati, but it was rough.
You thought that was bad, huh?
But until I got there, Tampa, you have Canseco, McGriff, Benny Castilla, Dave Martinez, and Bonnie come here free agent. I'm a free agent, so I decided to come there. And the All-Star break, they're all gone, and I'm there by myself. You know what I mean? I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. This is not the way I wanted to go out. A lot of good young players were coming up, but they weren't ready. I mean, the Russian kids up there that still trying to learn how to play. So it was frustrating because, you walk out there, you see the other team, hey, we're not letting you beat us. So when you're playing a bad team, Tennessee, the breaks and the way stuff works doesn't tend to go your way so much.
Right.
And then now, so I have this huge contract and playing on a not so good team. And the bad part was we're playing in front of 4,000 people. You know what I mean? And 3,000 of the visiting teams.
That's right. The Yankees or Red Sox or Orioles or whoever, Blue Jays.
So that's not the way I wanted to finish it and go out. But like I said, I have no regrets. I was in the big leagues. I was playing baseball, and look back and still have relationships with some of those young guys. I touched a lot of them too. So with that being said, that was his plan. It wasn't my plan. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, before I let you go, if you wouldn't mind, we've already talked several times about different teammates you had in '99. Would you mind going down through a couple of these guys and sharing a little bit about some of the guys and on that '99 team?
Well, first I got to start. Me and Barry knew each other, but never played together. But we had the same agent. Like I said, man, the captain, tremendous person, tremendous baseball player. You know what I mean? Cincinnati was lucky to have him, and the Reds organization. When you're looking at managers and future managers and great baseball minds, I don't know why he always gets passed up. I mean, I'm just saying the knowledge and knowing the game inside and out. That's one. I could talk about all these others. Talk about Boney. Boney picked it, man. Like I said, Lark had these guys. I never been on a team that didn't take a fungo. Yeah. They played every single ball live in BP. They made my life easy between Booney and Lark on one side. Any ground ball, it wasn't coming to me. You know what I mean? It was easy to play left field there. And then you go over to Smoke Pokey. Hey, man, hat sideways. I mean, freak athlete. Run. I mean, he could do it all, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go to Mike Cameron in center field. As soon as it was up, man, if it was 5 feet left, I was good because he's going to get it if it was 6, And he lived with me, my baby brother, and you got Dimitri Yuran's one of the best hitters I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
Ever. To be that young and to own that home plate in the batter's box the way he did, no matter if it was Maddox or whoever pitching, right-handed, left-handed, he was the man. Casey, the mayor, I was remember in San Diego before I got traded. I get to first base. And he said, "Oh man, Mr. Vaughn, it's an honor. It's an honor to see you. And this is." I said, time out. I said, "Hey, can I get my sign first?" And then, and then to be with Case, I tease him all the time. I said, "Case, I would have had 800 RBIs if you were hitting in front of me." You know what I mean? It was so big. But Casey can hit too. I mean, but like I said, they're better people. And he go out there with Hambone, just smooth, smart, intelligent. I played against Bone when he was in Baltimore when he was first round picked by them. Michael Tucker, another freak, just turn anything around. Brian Johnson, Eddie Thomas. I mean, like I said, man, they were just great guys. Mark Sweeney, like I said, he was my brother from another mother, for a long time. So, like I said, Cincinnati was just, I'm glad it was part of my journey. At the time that it started, I'm not so sure, but just being there and seeing the history and the people and in Cincinnati, living in Las Vegas now, and going to Ruby's, steakhouse, and
absolutely.
And his nephew is a caddy at Shadow Creek, so I get to see him all the time. You know what I mean? So yeah, so it's just the lifelong connections that you have with these guys. You know what I mean? And it was a tremendous run and journey for me.
Well, it was my favorite season ever, and a lot of that sometimes has to do with time, right? I mean, I was 11 when they won the World Series in '90. I'll never forget it. And as we look back on it more, my son is now 14, and he's never even seen a playoff series win. So I'll never forget.
Ohio State win, though. You seen Ohio State win?
Yeah, I got to wear that. We got a Notre Dame fan here at the network, so I've been kind of surreptitiously wearing this to try to get at him a little bit, but no. So with '99, I'm in college. I'm at Ohio State. I bet you I came down to 18, 19 games. It's a 2-hour drive. So, but we would do it. Weeknights we'd come down. I mean, day games during the week if we didn't have class, or maybe we skipped a class. Mom, don't listen to this, but no, it just was part of that year. And I can point to specific places where I was when certain things happened, and I'll never forget it. And you won 96 games. How many times did the 96 win team not make the playoffs even back then? Now there's even more teams getting in. So
yeah, we would definitely be in now.
You would. And the thing is, like, who was it? I think Eddie Thomasy was bringing this up to me. He's like, look at our record against the Diamondbacks and Braves, and even the Mets. Throughout the year, but no, the Diamondbacks, Braves, and Astros.
Right.
Your record against those teams. I remember you were talking about Dimitri and what he could do. He got the start for Case at first base against Randy Johnson one day during the summer, and you win 1-0 on a home run by Dimitri Young.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Hey, Meat Hook, man.
Yeah.
It didn't matter who was playing or who was pitching. I'm sorry. You had to find a place for him in the lineup, man, because it didn't matter. He's one of the best hitters I've ever seen to be that young and be able to do it from both sides of the plate. And he's still a good friend of mine. He's been on my podcast, Life After Sports 23. And his nephew was out here. He'll probably be a top 10 pick, this year in this year's draft. And like I said, man, there's some very, very special guys. A lot of smart guys too. You had 2 Stanford guys on that team. From, Brian Johnson and Jeffrey Hammonds. It was a lot of different walks and from people with a lot of different backgrounds. But we found a way, man, to play for the name in the front, and the back took care of itself. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful. That's awesome. Greg, thanks so much for taking this time. I really appreciate it. I know the folks watching or listening are going to love it. So thanks so much.
All right, Seth. Thank you, man. If you would just tag me, Greg Vaughn 23, Life After Sports 23, whatever.
So that is your podcast, Life After Sports 23. We can find it, wherever you get podcasts. Jump on that and get some memories from former teammates of Greg's, even with the Reds. That sounds like I'm going to be doing that a little more.
Drink 23 wines. Drink a lot of wine.
You do have a winery, don't you?
Yeah, that's the show. Drink 23 wines.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Greg. I really appreciate you.
All right, man. Thank you, Seth. Take care.
Hey, here on the Riverfront, we're so glad you tuned in, and catch us on the next episode of Redleg Roundtable.